It's the most wonderful time.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. We have another Christmas movie this week.
Truly a classic.
Yeah, this one should be right up there with White Christmas and Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman.
Definitely for Ryan Reynolds.
I think it's really underappreciated. It's not right. There should be justice for this movie.
Yeah.
And if you did not see...
It's one of... But the thing is it gets caught in those, like, I feel like early 2000 shitty romantic comedy movies.
Yeah, I guess
rather than
so.
a Christmas movie.
Well, I think because it's, like, newer and people are like, that can't be a classic. It's newer. But no, this
Please,
deserves...
have you ever seen anything that they play on the Lifetime channel that's on for Christmas time? Everything
yeah, but those
is
are just
awful.
like, they got everything that you want. But this one deserves.
This
it's
one
so
is pure
underappreciated.
chaos.
So if you didn't see on my sneak peek on the gram this week we have Just Friends, which has some of the best one-liners any movie has ever had in the history of movies. Like, I still repeat
seriously.
one-liners from this movie today. And not always Christmas time.
Again, that's why I think it gets caught in the romantic comedy kind of genre.
Yeah, but it's definitely a Christmas movie. So let's get right into it.
So this movie stars Ryan Reynolds. What's her name? Amy Smart.
Anna Farris.
Farris.
I know it's Anna because I listened to her podcast and they make sure it's definitely Anna. Anna
it's not
Farris.
Anna. No, I remember
Anna
that when
Farris.
Sim calls her Anna.
Yeah.
She goes.
Yeah. She's got a really good podcast. It's called Unqualified. You should go listen to it. Like, she needs the promo.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
Yeah,
Every
it's really
episode.
good,
did you listen to the Nick Kroll one recently?
No, I haven't listened in like 2
Oh
weeks.
my god, you need to. His show just came out, Big Mouth.
Yeah, I really like him.
That is funny. Okay.
So, we open with Just Friends. I always forget, this movie's set in Jersey, which how appropriate.
And they say it's an hour outside of Trenton.
Yeah,
so that could be like...
It was close to where we used to live.
Yeah.
Stop.
Freddie.
We have the dog in today, and he is just dropping the ball at my feet.
Sit down.
Being a sass.
Thank you. Relax.
So this movie, we open up, it's 1995 in Jersey, and it's exactly what you would think of high school. And we meet Chris, who is...
the goober of like...
It's Ryan Reynolds in a fat suit. Which I heard, like, a little behind the scenes, he was walking around in the fat suit to see if people would notice who he was. Because at the time, you knew who Ryan Reynolds was. Yeah. And nobody knew. Like, he was walking around talking to people, like, normal people.
So
yeah,
funny.
and they didn't know who it was. But I think you can tell, I think that it's Ryan Reynolds. But he's in a fat suit, like, huge. And he's writing this lovey message in a yearbook.
Oh, in the background song. And that's where...
yeah. He's singing to, who is that Boys to Men?
I think so.
I'm not sure. Sorry.
I'm gonna look
90s
at that right
people.
now.
I was a child then. I don't know. He has a lisp. He's got a retainer. Just like complete goober in high school. And we find he's writing this like really love message to his best friend Jamie in her yearbook.
Not to cut you off, it's called All for One. That was
by
the band.
Boyz II Men?
No, I swear, Is that it? Hold on, I'm gonna play it real quick.
You don't have to put it up to the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but who sings it?
All for One.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Whew, never even heard of them. Sorry to disrespect. So he goes to Jamie's house, and she's having like this giant party.
He didn't think that they were, though.
What, they were gonna have a giant party?
No. He thought that it was just gonna be the four of them.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the
Yeah, I was
little
getting.
friends.
So he goes in, and he has these two other nerds as like this guy and this girl as his best friends. And he's like, "What's going on, guys? It was supposed to just be the four of us." And Jamie's parents, who are your classic high school parents, which I'm sure everybody knows, of that one kid who their parent just doesn't care at all what their kid does in the house. So they threw her a giant surprise graduation party. And so Chris is like, well, he's like really nervous because here he is. He's confessing his love to his best friend who he's had for years. And he asks where Jamie is, and they're like, "Oh, she's in the garage with the entire football team." So we find out that Jamie is a little bit of a scandalous gal.
She's a floozy.
Yeah, she's a partier. She's like the popular one. She dates all the jerky football guys. And so she finally like runs in or something, or he finds her, and they go up to her room, and she has no boundaries with him at all. Like, she's just like, she's wearing a dress, and she's like, just legs are flying all over, but she doesn't know that he has feelings for her. So there's just, I guess she's so comfortable with him because she doesn't think there's anything there. And he's never said anything to her before for her to think that. So he's trying like to sit her down, but she's kind of drunk, and he's like trying to get her to sit down and listen. And then Tim, the football player, comes walking in, and he's wasted.
Dusty Dinkelman.
No, Tim comes in first.
Okay.
Just watched this movie yesterday, ho. So Tim comes in first, and it's just like sloshed. You know this guy. You
exactly. Everyone knows this. Yeah.
So I could easily think of like 10 guys when Tim comes walking in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So Tim comes walking in, and he tries to get. He comes in with his yearbook, and he tries to get what's her name, Jamie, to sign it, and Jamie's like, "Get out of here, Tim." So he leaves, but little do we know, he actually takes Chris's yearbook.
Yeah.
So then,
well, they get mixed up because they were both on the same. They were both on the bed.
Yeah. So then, all of a sudden, Chris tries to sit her down again and tries to, talk to her. Then Dusty Dinkelman, who is
he's a really weird person, but it's Chris Pine.
Chris Pine. No, not Chris Pine.
No,
Chris
from
Star Trek.
He's from American Pie.
Yeah, he plays
Hey, I'm the guy in
the
choir.
sensitive one.
Yeah.
What's his name in American Pie?
Oh, I don't even know. I can't remember
Here we go.
right
We're
now.
just failing all day today.
I just know Jim, and then there's Stifler.
He's got a nickname. That
I don't know.
I'll think of it.
I'll go to IMDb later.
Yeah, so Dusty Dinkelman comes in, and he's disgusting. He's got long, gross, greasy hair. He's got, like, acne. He's like your typical grunge,
geeky kid.
Yeah, he stutters really, really bad, and he's trying to play a song for Jamie, but he's also a psychopath because he's trying to play, and he's like, God. Get it together, Dinkelman!
He's like stomping on the ground going, God damn it!
Just screaming at himself because he's so nervous and he can't play this song for Jamie. So then Chris gets up and he's like, Dusty.
Yeah, my God.
And Ryan Reynolds' voice is like 8 octaves higher when he's fat Chris.
Yeah, for some reason. He has like a little bit of a lisp.
So he's like, so he like shoos Dusty out, and
I can't even drink my coffee right now. I'm laughing too hard thinking about it.
He tries to sit Jamie down again, and then Jamie's like, I got a present for you. And she gives him like just the worst, and it's a T-shirt. It's got 2 cats drinking out of the same milkshake, and it's like, shakes come and go, but friends are forever. And it has their faces as the cats, and she's like, put it on.
Oh, and it's so like.
It's so he puts it on, and it's like this baby blue with like pink cats on it, and he puts it on. And he goes, "It's a bit snug," and she's like, "It's perfect." And he's just trying to talk to her. And he finally gives her what he thinks is his book. And Jamie's reading out of it. And it's like, can't wait to bang you in the car again. Yeah. And she's like, what? And he's like, oh my God. And right then he realizes that he has Tim's book. And Tim took his.
So he turns around with the fat on his neck and everything. And just... Oh my God!
Yeah, just like that. And he hears everybody laughing outside. So he goes outside, and Tim is reading his love message to the entire party, and everybody's laughing. And then, so Chris is humiliated. So he runs downstairs, and he's just, like trying to get out, and everybody's gone. And you hear like people. What is he growling at?
What is your deal? Oh, the ball.
Oh, is he angry?
Take that. Yeah, he's being a brat.
So Chris starts like, and you hear people like, hey, fatty, like people in the background as he's trying to run down the stairs.
Oh, all the while he's still wearing that shirt too.
He doesn't have, it's like sausage casing. Doesn't have time to take it off. Oh, God,
so bad.
And he gets out to his bike. He's kind of crying and he's all upset. And Jamie comes down and she's like, Chris, we have to talk. And she's like, did you really mean what you wrote? And he's like, I don't know, kind of, sort of, maybe. And she's like, well, I love you. like a brother.
Oh, and yeah, like the music changes and everything. It's like a record screech.
Yeah, and she's like, friends forever. And
he's
then,
like, for sure.
and so he just starts biking out, and he's like, and at this point he's mad, and he's like, you know, you guys will never, hear from me again.
Yeah.
So
I'm pulling out the wind.
Yeah.
And he pulls away slowly on his mountain bike.
Yeah. And so he rides away for 10 years. So we go fast forward into the future.
Not on a bike. He doesn't ride his bike for 10 years.
No.
Let's not get literal.
Yeah. So we go speed ahead 10 years later, and we're at this big LA party at this recording studio, but it's like your typical one that you see in movies. Like all the celebrities and stuff are there, and we finally see the Chris that is now the future Chris, and it's the Ryan Reynolds that we all know, like the most
not
handsome
fat
man alive. Yeah, and he's breaking up with a porn star. Like, what is
that,
she?
Or something of LA in 2004 or 3, whatever the hell that is.
She's like, you just don't understand me. You don't take me seriously. And then
he's like, I feel like you're not listening. And he's like dozing off into the distance and everything.
Yeah, he's like playing with his martini or something. And then all of a sudden she goes, Athena out. And she does this weird like.
She does like this weird hand thing in front of her.
Yeah.
And then like he almost
like
chokes.
a John Cena, you can't see me. That's what.
But with both hands.
Yeah. And she's like, Athena out. And then he like chokes on his martini. And then all of a sudden, right next to him, she's like, wow, right before the holidays. And it's this another porn star looking woman.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and he goes, and technically you're here, so you're accomplice to my misery. And he's like, Chris Brander, nice to meet you. And then he just, and then there's a
right off then and there, off with
another one. And then there's a guy who is like shoots and scores again. So we find out that now he's a ladies' man, like a real smooth talker.
Yeah, he's like a swinger kind of deal.
Yeah, just like does whatever he wants. And so really changed, the complete opposite of what he was in high school. And then we cut to a hockey scene, and Chris, of course, is like he's the MVP of hockey.
He's like captain, pro.
Scores like all the goals. It's like a rec hockey league in LA. And he's talking to his friend, and his friend is like, oh, I'm going to take out this girl. We're going to go to lunch. And Chris immediately stops him, and he's like, no, never, ever, ever go to lunch. Because
it's exactly how to get into the friend zone.
Yeah, lunch means they want you more like a brother. And a girl makes you... She likes you like a brother, and he's like, or a lamp. And the guy's like, I don't want to be a lamp.
Yeah.
And he's like, then don't take her, cancel it right now, and go to dinner. And so we know this is like where it's kind of starting, because then he says like, oh, this girl in high school really messed me up because she put me in the friend zone. So he has this like whole thing, like, this is now from how he's lived his life, is just stay out of the friend zone. So now we meet Anna Farris for the first time as her best character to date. I know that the show that she's on, Mom, is apparently like really good, really funny, but this is, just the epitome of all her characters that she's played.
Also 10 years later, he's like a music agent.
Yeah, he's got a really big time job, like really rich, and he hangs out with all these celebrities and stuff. So we find out that his boss wants him to sign, her name's Samantha James, and this is Anna Farris.
His reaction, Samantha James is a crazy person.
He goes, we went out, and he's like, oh, no, but his boss is like, no, you liked her. You went on a date. He goes, and I ended up in the hospital. And so, but she's like the next big thing. And there's nothing to her. She's just good looking, and she has like the best-selling poster in the U.S., which is just her naked eating a banana, and that's like, it's the best-selling poster, and that's what the only reason she's famous. So he wants Chris, his job is to sign her. So he shows up at the recording studio, and she's behind the recording glass.
Oh my God.
And she's singing this terrible song, which James and I still repeat, and it's got like this.
Hold on, I have it right here on YouTube.
Like,
yeah, hold on. Let me see if I get. Oh, there's the dogs.
There they go.
All right, hold on. This is probably the most cringe-worthy.
Yeah. Afar. So good. And
Where are you?
Where are you? Where are you? So then she gets to a part where she's got to sing the chorus, and she's terrible. She's like, just,
yeah,
it sounds
awful.
so bad.
So
and
bad.
then she stops, and she's like, which jokester changed the key on me?
And they're like, it's been like that for the last 87
She's
times.
like, no one. That's what the song is like, Samantha. And so she thinks it's that they're the reason that she's terrible and has absolutely no talent.
You guys are assholes. You guys are assholes.
She's like, I'm an artist, okay? I don't want to be bubblegum pop. Which she's not even that.
Yeah.
So she sees Chris in the window, and she's trying to talk to him, but she can't. I don't know if anybody knows, but normally if you're not talking into a mic when you're behind in a recording studio, no one can hear you.
You're not gonna hear shit on the other side.
Yeah, so she's like, Chris, and he's like, I can't hear you. I can't.
And
hear
she's
you.
like in full conversation mode already.
Yeah, and he's just like smiling at her, and he's like, and then she realizes that he can't hear her, and she's like, oh, and he's like, oh, light bulb, there it is. So she comes out of the recording studio and just jumps on him and starts licking his face, and she's like, God, I just want to lick your skin off.
I prefer if you didn't.
Yeah. So then she pulls off his pants. And then all of a sudden she gets away, and he's just sitting on the couch, just like looks like he was violated.
Yeah, and she's just sitting there. She's like, "You have to hear my new song,"
Yeah.
And it's the worst. Again, another cringe-worthy song, but it's so funny.
And then so this is what we hear for the rest of the movie is this one song, and which she plays probably another 10 times in the movie, and it's forgiveness. Is
more like saying sorry.
It's so bad. And so she's playing it, and then we suddenly cut to they're on a private jet, and she's still playing it for him. And she's like, oh, I was hoping maybe I could get Bono on it. He can be like all Bono-y. And
it could be like, forgiveness is the way. He could be all like, forgiveness is the way.
And Chris just grabs a newspaper and puts it over his face and is just like trying to crush his skull. He's just like, but this is his job. Like, he has to just deal with her and sign her. So she's on this weird diet where all she has to eat is salmon. So it's wrapped in aluminum foil in a microwave safe dish. So she puts it in the microwave on the private jet, and of course a fire starts because she puts aluminum foil in the microwave. So they have to do an emergency landing. And they're like, did you not know that you can't put aluminum foil in a microwave?
The container said it was microwavable.
They're like, not the aluminum foil. So they find out, and then, oh my God, then they land, and she's like, am I being punked? Ashton, where are you? Oh my God, guys, this is so funny. She's just running
Again,
around
this
the
is
plane.
2004. Punked was like a really big show back then.
And she's just running around like, Ashton! And Ryan Reynolds asks, he's like, where are we? He goes, okay, let's just get on another plane and keep going. They were on their way to Paris.
Yeah.
And because that's just where Samantha decided she wanted to go. And they find out that they land in Jersey, which is exactly where. And this is a couple of days before Christmas?
Just about.
Yeah, and they find out that they can't take off. It's just, there's a huge, there's snow everywhere and ice. There must have been a big blizzard, the day before.
Yeah.
And they find out that they can't take off until the next day. So Chris knows that his his mother's house and his childhood home is right there. So they show up, to spend one night, he shows up at his mom's house. And
who immediately starts crying.
Yeah, she just starts screaming in his face.
Yeah.
And so he walks in, and then he's talking to his mom, and he brings Samantha with him, and all of a sudden his brother walks in, Mikey.
With a sign? Yeah, for whatever reason.
On it. And his brother walks in, completely pushes Chris out of the way.
And it's like, is that my Christmas present?
Yeah, because he has the famous poster and multiple other posters on his wall. And So Chris is like, great to be home. Like, his mom is just, like, all over him. But his mom's the sweetest lady in the whole world.
Yeah.
And Samantha's there, and his brother's an idiot. So he goes up to his room. He's like, I'm going to start drinking now. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
And he goes up to his room, and it's exactly the same as how he left it
it's untouched.
10 years ago. Yeah, and this is the first time he's been back to this town for 10 years. So all of his pictures with Jamie and everything, they're all still on the wall. And then we go, I guess they decide to leave, and he takes Samantha to, like, the local pub, and he walks in, and Samantha's like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Hello, hi.
And no one's
fans.
even saying anything to her.
And she's dressed ridiculously. And she's got,
she's got
giant fuzzy earmuffs on, and, like,
these
the fuzzy
giant
boots.
fuzzy white boots with hot pink leggings
and
or whatever.
Nobody cares at all. And she's like, oh my god, Chris, get out of here. Everybody's staring at me. Nobody's staring at all. And then Chris sees Darla and Clark, which were his two nerdy friends that we saw in the beginning of the movie. That it was supposed to just be them and Jamie at the party. And so he's talking to them, and all of a sudden Samantha comes over, because Chris wants nothing to do with Samantha. And he's hoping, like, she'll just kind of, like, wander off, but she's following him everywhere.
Yeah.
So she comes up, and she's like, I'm going to go to the little girl's room. And then she starts going to the girl's room, and then all of a sudden turns around, and she's like, oh my god, that lady over there has the fattest ass you've ever seen. And then she grabs Clark and kisses him. She kisses him on the cheek.
Yeah.
And then she kisses Darla on the mouth, and then she just goes, Darla.
No, but she kisses Darla on the mouth, but, like, for a good, like...
Yeah, like, it's like a passionate kiss.
Yeah. For some reason. Darla.
Yeah. Just so weird. And then we see Tim. Tim is there, and he's balding, and he's really, really fat. And
I would probably see...
Yeah, well, yeah, go
right
to Hamilton.
Now. Oh, yeah. I'm going to say it right now. Bill's old tavern.
Yeah, this is just filled with them. He's still wearing his Letterman jacket, and he's like, Chris Brandon.
Class of 95, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the peak of your life was Class of 95.
Yeah.
Again, we could see a lot of those at Hamilton.
So then he asks Chris for $5, and then you hear him off screen go,
here's your money, bitch.
Yeah, it's probably for, like, child support or something. And then we see it cuts to Jamie, and she's there, and she's bartending. Yeah. And she sees Chris, and Chris looks at her, and she dives underneath the bar as soon as he looks at her.
Yeah.
And he goes over, and he's, like, asking how she's doing, and she's all embarrassed because obviously Chris is in, like, a nice suit. Like, she can tell he's doing well. And here she is, same town, living with her parents and bartending. And so, and because we left off is, like, Jamie had the upper hand, and Chris was the fat one with nothing.
Yeah,
and now all of a sudden Chris is has it. And so he's talking to her, and he tells her, like, he's only in for one night, and that's it. And then all of a sudden Samantha comes back.
Can we leave? There's pee on the floor.
Yeah. And then she's like, she looks, and she sees Jamie, and she hisses at Jamie like a cat. And but Chris is, like, going to leave, but you can tell, like, as soon as he saw Jamie, he still had the feels.
Yeah.
So he
gives her, like, this long hug and everything.
Yeah. And so he makes up. This is, like, the start of him making up excuses to continue to stay, like, another day to try and see if he can do anything with Jamie. So he asked her out. And she's like, great, we can go out for lunch.
Give me a date. Yeah. He's like, great.
so it's like right back to where he was.
Yeah.
And so he's talking to Jamie, and then Samantha is just sitting on a bench like, Chris. And then he goes, I'm busy!
And then she replies with, I'm busy! Stupid dick! Across the entire bar. Yeah. And everyone, like, breaks their necks at everyone.
Like, they're
and
just staring at her. So so they leave, and then the next day.
Oh no! But before, hold on, she goes,
yeah.
What was that about? And he was like, nothing. I was just talking. And she, like, wind up softball grabs him in the balls, and he goes into, like, full, like, crouched mode.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's not a handball. She goes, my handball. She meows at him, and he just, like, grabs her and yanks her out.
Yeah, he just throws her out.
Oh, but it's so funny. And he does that a lot throughout the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, he's just, like, manhandling her. Not in, like, an abusive way, just
You're
like,
crazy.
yeah,
Get over
just
here.
get away from me. Like
Yeah.
one of those. So the next day, and now this is during the day because he made the lunch date. He makes his brother watch Samantha. And
Well, he sits on like his face with the one leg.
it's hard to explain you have to watch it, like actually watch it, just for the dynamic between him and his brother Mike.
Because it's so true.
They're just constantly slapping each other in the face, but it's funny because they'll be slapping each other and then they're like, love you, and they're like, love you too.
And then they'll hand each other a cookie.
Yeah. They're just like constantly kicking each other, and it's just, you gotta watch it just for their physical comedy, not just like their audible comedy.
And Chris is always tripping in this movie, like physically.
Oh, yeah.
He trips at least in probably every half-hour marker in the movie.
Just constantly tripping all over the place.
Or he falls on his bike. He falls down the stairs in Jamie's house. Anyway,
so
continue.
he makes Mike take Samantha to the mall, but he's like convincing her that it's
like, for like charity.
Yeah,
and good,
so that it's bigger than it actually is. So she'll go with Mike, and he rents, while they're at the mall, he rents this like fancy Porsche. And he's thinking, because Jamie always dated jerks in high school, that he has to act like just full douchebag.
Yeah, now that I have my life together, I'm gonna act like what she liked.
Like
back
this is
then.
what she wants. She wants a jerk. This is what she always liked. So they go to a diner that they used to go to all the time with each other when they're in high school. And the waitress comes over and she's like, "Who's my Jenny Bunny? Oh, the chubby bunny is
First of all,
back."
if a waitress ever did that to me, I'd be like, I'm out of here right now.
So and so we cut to Mike at the mall with Samantha, and she's standing on like the upper, like the balcony, like the second floor, like looking down, like, you know, the picture in the mall.
Yeah.
And she's trying to write, and she's like, "Mall people," just the most
just
basic
random
lyrics.
ass lyrics.
Yeah, like,
and
make
Mike
no
is
sense at
sitting
all.
there, and he calls Chris, but he's also going through Samantha's purse.
Yeah.
Which has all different types of weird shit. One of them happening to be a taser gun.
Yeah.
And so he picks it out and he's just waving it around as he's on the phone.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, so what if I went to Paris?" And immediately Chris shuts him down. He's like, "You haven't heard the full story yet."
Yeah.
So then finally he's just like, "You know what? We'll just talk later about this." And on the last word that he says, he goes and he hits the button, and the tasers go out right into Samantha James's butt, and she just starts getting tased, and she flips over the side at the mall, and you just hear like screaming on the other side of the line of the phone, and Ryan Reynolds just has this very perplexed look on his face, and then the brother is just like, "I gotta go," hangs up, and then that's it.
Yeah, but and then Chris doesn't ask like what happened. He's just he's
just
at
goes
lunch.
back and sits down. You know what? I'm on a date right now.
Yeah. So the waitress comes back and she's like, "I have a surprise for you," and it's the Sugar Mountain surprise, which is a giant stack of pancakes with like whipped cream,
jelly
sprinkles,
beans, for
jelly
reason.
beans.
I would rather like chocolate chips.
Like hot fudge.
Yeah.
Just like as much sugar as you could possibly get. And then Jamie gets like this tiny little like tea sandwich or something, and he's like, "This isn't gonna work for me." And the waitress goes, "But this is what you always ordered." And he goes, 10 years ago when I was a whale."
Yeah.
And Jamie's like, "You're being rude." And she's like, "God, you little girl." She's like, "I'll switch with you."
And then he's just like, "I'll just have this water instead." Sips a little tiny
this all the
sip,
time,
and then he's just like, "I'm stuffed."
Just like that.
Oh my
We do
God.
that all the time. It's so good.
We reference this movie daily.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like, I actually had to write down quotes because there's so many good one-liners.
Yeah.
So the lunch does not go well. He's just being a jerk. He's like name dropping all the celebrities he hangs
It's like
out
50
with.
Cent, Good Charlotte. Just really, anybody.
Yeah, I think he says like Mick Jagger, just all these. It's just, he's being like such a jerk. And so he goes to drop Jamie off, and he walks her up to her house, and he gives the most awkward hug.
He like shakes her.
Yeah, like they go to like shake hands or something, so their hands are like in like by their stomachs, but then he goes and grabs her with his other arm and then picks her up and is just like shaking her, like picking her up and putting her back down. And so he goes back and he slips while he's going back into his car. He slips one of the many times, and he finally gets in the car, and he just starts freaking out.
Yeah, again, like, for whatever reason, you need to watch it for the dynamic of
just
the
physical,
visual. He's like freaking out, slapping things in his car.
Stupid!
Flailing his arms like a inflatable tube man, and then he's going like, like talking exactly how he does.
Yeah.
Not knowing all the while, Jamie is sitting right outside the car, watching him doing this, and then you could see Amy Smart trying not to laugh, so she like looks down, and then finally he stops, rolls down the window, and he's just like, hey, and she's like, I forgot my gloves. And he's like, hey.
He's like, oh, of course.
Yeah, and he hands her the gloves, then puts everything gently back together, and then, next scene, he's home, and he gets back, and Mike is just sitting outside on the stairs, and he just goes, little problem.
Yeah.
And
problem.
he walks Chris upstairs, and he goes, she's got a little bit of a headache. And we walk in, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen Anna Faris do.
Yeah.
She's eating toothpaste.
It's like all over her mouth.
It's all over her mouth. It's dripping everywhere.
She's got an ice pack that's wrapped around her head.
Yeah, it's like duct taped around her
and it's like sitting on top of her head. And he's like, what did you do to her?
And she's just, she's
like, I'm a bubble.
Yeah, oh my God, it's so funny.
And then she just goes, blueberry.
No. The brother, he's just like, Mike, what did you do to her? She's like, nothing. She's just loopy from all the Vicodin. And she goes,
where did you get the Vicodin?
Mom. And then, blueberry.
And it's just like it's just spilling all out of her mouth. And so then Chris goes and like knocks his brother down and is sitting on top of his brother, and he keeps trying to he's like the haka-loogie, and it's like keeps like the spit
he's
coming
letting it
down.
Like drip, then he's slurping it back.
Yeah, and his brother's just screaming, and then all of a sudden his phone rings, and I think
they call trust.
It's Jamie that calls, right?
No, it's his boss.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So his boss, okay.
He's like, how's my little superstar?
Yeah,
and all of a sudden she comes up behind
him, like so slowly, just
with like this creepy smile and a mouthful of toothpaste, and goes to give him like a kiss or something.
But she just spits.
She like sloshes all the toothpaste on Chris's face, and his face, he just closes his eyes, and it's just like pretending it's not happening. Meanwhile, he's holding his brother's face against the ground too.
Yeah, and so she spits all the toothpaste onto his cheek. It's so gross. It's so good at the same time. So the next scene is Chris gets out of that. She's still drugged up. And Chris calls Jamie to go ice skating because now he's a really good ice skater. And this is one of the other best scenes, which we quote
my God.
He's on the phone, and his mom all of a sudden, because the house is on the same phone line, which is like olden days. We don't even have that really anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody uses their cell phone.
It would just be a single line, and it would only be one person
so this
talking
is all,
on it.
this is all one line. So she picks up another phone, and she's like, hello, Joyce.
Chris, what are you doing over at Joyce?
He's like, Mom, I'm in the living room
10 feet away from you.
And she's like, oh, well, what do you want for dinner? We can have chicken chow mein
Mom,
or pot roast.
I'm on the phone. This is exactly how the scene is. This is how much we watch this movie.
And she's like, okay, talk to you later. So Jamie agrees to go out with him again.
Yeah.
But it's still during the day because he's in the friend zone once again.
Yeah.
So this is now the next day.
Also, these carolers that follow them throughout the entire movie, they are so goddamn annoying. I want to punch them.
And they're like the carolers that dress up in like old colonial
they go out.
I hate that.
Yeah, they go out all out. Okay, anyway.
I hate people like that. So then the next day, Chris can't find his old skates. And he's like, Mom, I need my skates to show off my talents. And she's like, you don't have to show off your talents for Jamie.
Just be yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself. It's just, and he's sitting there just like in a daze, like, are you serious?
Yeah, he's just
right
like
now?
Staring off. But it's so funny because their mom is they're both really cute with their mom, like Mikey and Chris. Because they're like, thanks, mommy. And they're such like mama's boys, even though like they kick the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
They're still such mama's boys, and she loves them. But that is a whole nother dynamic of the movie that's so good. So then it goes to the ice skating. And Chris has to rent skates because his mom threw out his old ones because he hasn't been home in 10 years and he cannot skate at all with these rental skates.
Yeah, they look like they're all chipped up and disgusting anyway.
So he's talking to Jamie, which is always, part has always been uncomfortable when he's trying to like smooth talk her. So he's like,
how's the love life?
Cringe.
Why would you ever start off with that? And she's just like, lame. And I'm like, so is your answer.
Yeah, it's just, all of it is so cringeworthy to me.
Yeah.
And he tries to then pull her in and kiss her, and he ends up, they knock into their heads knock into each other. Yeah, and pretty much he knocks her out. So again, not going well for Chris.
Yeah.
And so she's sitting off on the sidelines talking to a bunch of kids that she substitute teaches for. So they all know her and they all love her. Yeah. And these kids, they're having like a pickup game, and they need another body, so they ask Chris to play, and he thinks he's good at hockey, so he's like, yeah, I'll play, and he wants to impress Jamie, and he plays terribly.
Well, these kids are like, they're hacking him, they're like getting up and like punching him.
Yeah, they're cursing at him, like trash talking him the entire time.
And then the one comes up to him and is like, oh, wanna fight? And he's like, oh, are you kidding me? He's taking punches from this kid. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the ref comes over and the ref comes over and goes, she's just a child. And he goes, that's a girl?
So they're like vicious children. So it comes down to the last shot. And they're like, oh, you gotta pick it up. You can't play. And he's like, I got it, okay? And,
watch! You may learn something, little girl!
So it goes into slow motion. And he starts like he's
pummeling kids.
Yeah, like just throwing them into the air, out of the way. He's checking
them out of the way.
Yeah, and he goes to hit a slap shot.
Wait. He stops full on before anything to this one kid and just like palms him in the side of the head.
Hits him in the head. Then he goes into a slap shot, and it hits the crossbar and then shoots back into his face, right into his mouth.
Into the top of his mouth.
Yeah, and the scene is so, I'm sure it's an extra, but the extra goes flying in the air and then lands on the ice on his back. It's so good. So then an ambulance has to come because he was knocked out.
Lo and behold, who's the EMT? Dusty Dinkelman.
But now Dusty Lee, and now he's handsome.
Yeah,
and
he's
everybody
all grown
loves
up.
Him. Yeah, everybody loves him. So he's also had like a glow up, just like Chris has.
Yeah.
And but he stayed in town, and everybody loves him.
Yeah, he's like the good guy. Per se.
So they had to build a snowbank up from the ice to the ambulance, and Chris is on a stretcher and he slides down this. They like let go of him for a second, and he slides down the snowbank. He
starts wiggling because Dusty's starting to hit on Jamie while Chris is in a stretcher.
And he can't talk because his mouth is completely cut up. Like his mouth, he's bleeding from his mouth. He slides down the snowbank, goes shooting into the air off a ramp, and then lands on the ice.
For whatever reason, the ramp has a turn in it. Yeah. And he flips a 180 and slams on the ice on his face.
So they put him in the ambulance, and Dusty's like working his magic, and he ends up getting Jamie's number. And Chris can't say anything because he's his mouth is just filled with gauze and stuff like that because he's bleeding. So he's in the dentist, which then his friend Clark, the nerdy Clark, is the dentist. And he realizes there that Jamie doesn't want a jerk. Now she wants a nice guy. And
now, being equipped with a retainer, goes back home, and this is where we go back, and you hear and I swear, and he's getting ready for like the next date, which is the movies. Oh no, wait, I'm skipping over when the brother cuts in on the phone now. Yeah. Oh my god, no, let's go through this first, and then okay.
So he comes back, and he's like, okay.
You're the biggest pussy in the world. The biggest
he's
pussy in the world.
He's like talking himself up before he calls Jamie again. And he's wearing like, think of what's his name? A Bill Cosby Huxtable sweater, like the ugly
But when
sweater.
he answers the phone, he goes, Jamie!
Yeah. And he's got the lisp is back, the high voice is back. And so he calls Jamie, and then his brother cuts in on the phone.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was just wondering if you would like to go to the Revival Theater to see Nicholas Sparks' The Notebook.
And the brother is just like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna puke.
And he's like, bleh, bleh. So,
and then all of a sudden you see the cutout of him on the phone, and you just see the cutout of Ryan Reynolds disappear, because you see Ryan Reynolds go, oh, can you hold on a second? And you see him, and he runs off, and then you see the brother, and he just screams, and Ryan Reynolds is making a beeline at him, and he runs into the room, and he closes the door, and he's like, get off of the phone!
Yeah, well, all the while, now Dusty called in to Jamie.
Yeah.
So Jamie isn't hearing any of this. It's like she's on the other line. And so he's like threatening to kill his brother through the door. And then Jamie cuts in. She's like, okay, yeah, like, you know, we'll do that. You know, I'll go see the Notebook with you. And he's like, and maybe after we can get some herbal tea.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay.
Yeah.
So he hangs up, and then he kicks down the door.
Legit,
just kicks it down, and his brother just goes, "Ah!"
And the brother, Mom!
And then just starts screaming. And for his mom, he's Mom! Mom! And so then, what's her name? Jamie shows up to the house, and then not 2 seconds later, Dusty comes walking in behind her.
But Dusty is all decked out in his leather jacket, and his scarf, and his choker necklace collar.
Yeah, and he's being really nice to Chris's mom, and he's like, Carol, it's been so long. He's like, would you like to come with us?
Which is ultimately like you just killed the date that was supposed to happen. Yeah. You're bringing your mother now on the date.
So now it's the four. He's like, well, it'll be a foursome. So they all go see. Now you're wondering, what is Samantha doing this entire time? Because obviously she's not drugged anymore. So now he again uses like, oh, I'm going to send you to to play at a club. And
it's like a tea house, he calls it, or coffee
he calls
house.
it. Yeah, it's like a coffee house, and it's supposed to be open mic. Well, then we find out that it's a biker bar called the Metal Shop.
It got turned into a biker bar.
Yeah, and he says it's open mic night, so he sends Mike and to go be with her, and he tells Samantha, she's like, where? No, I don't want to go with him. And he's like, I'll meet you there. He goes, Mike is just gonna give you a ride. I'll meet you there. I'm gonna be right behind you. But he's not. He's going on what was supposed to be a date with Jamie, and this was his first night date with Jamie, and here he is with his mother and Dusty. Yeah. So in the movie, obviously it's a part of the Notebook, which if you haven't seen it, it's when they're old, and the lady finally realizes that she is that she like everything comes back to her, and she remembers the guy Ryan Gosling's character. Yeah. And so they're all crying, and Chris is like, "This is so gay." Yeah. And Dusty's crying, so Jamie grabs Dusty's hand, and she's like, "Oh, Dusty."
Which is so like I hate that line in the whole entire movie too.
And then Chris looks over at his mom, and she's like, "Peanut," and she crying.
Grabs his hand, and he words like, oh my god. Like, it is the worst experience of his life.
So the complete opposite of what he thought the evening was going to be. So they get back to the house, and Chris invites Jamie in for hot chocolate, and then they start watching like old movies that they made when they were in high school, and then they're having a great time. Chris is starting to act more like himself. And he goes to drop her off in his mom's. So it's not no more fancy Porsche, because Mike took that with Samantha. And he goes to drop her off in his mom's car, and they're listening to an old mixtape that he made for each other, and they're having an even better time.
They're laughing. They're just having a really like genuine great night at this point.
And then he gets a call from Mike, and Samantha obviously didn't fit.
In the metal shop.
Yeah, it was a little bit different than what they normally get at the metal shop. So she gets in a fight with people because they start throwing things at her.
But the thing is she jumps on top of a biker, and she's like, "Not so funny now, bitch!" And she's like slamming his head into the ground. It is so fucking funny.
Yeah. So I don't know how, like, because they don't show us how she gets home, but all of a sudden I think it's the next day. Yeah. Because Samantha what they think is she's sleeping on the bed.
Yeah.
And Chris is whispering to Mike in the room and says, just watch her. He's going to go to Jamie's. But really, she hears it all. Because all of a sudden, her eyes are closed. And all of a sudden, her eyes open.
Yeah.
And it's so creepy.
And you're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, she heard everything. So he goes to Jamie's, and Dusty's there playing guitar. And he's much better at guitar now.
Yeah.
And
he's playing a double, what is it? A double-necked guitar? Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it is like so obnoxious.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like he's got 15 fingers or something.
But his friend is trying to like talk him up and everything. He's like, no, this is your chance, man. He's Dusty Dinkelman.
Yeah.
He's Jersey. He skis in his jeans.
But, you skip, because Chris, he found a list that he had wrote to Jamie in high school, and it's like the 100 best things about Jamie.
Yeah,
and he put it in a card, and he was finally going to give it to her at her house. But then Dusty's showing him up, because Dusty's singing the song that he like originally wrote for Jamie in high school.
Which, when you do think about it, it is really like the stalker anthem.
So everybody's eating it up. So Chris is just fed up. He throws his list down like on a coffee table, and then he goes, and then that's when then we cut back to Samantha, and Mike is in his bathroom, and he's just like do 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 do, and he's looking. It's the classic like horror movie scene where he looks at himself in a medicine cabinet mirror. And he opens it, and then all of a sudden he closes it, and Samantha's standing right behind him, and he does his little girl scream again.
It's like,
and
yeah,
and she's like, "Where is he?" And
I'll never tell. For whatever reason, she's like, oh yeah, and she just like shoves her tongue in his mouth.
She's just licking his face, like just like what she did to Chris originally.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's just like, he's with his lover, and he just drops to the ground, and Samantha leaves.
So Clark, and then we come back to Jamie's house, and Clark talks up Chris, and he's like, come on, it's Dinkelman.
He's like, Dinkelman. Yeah. Dinkelman's going down.
So everybody's outside caroling, because caroling's huge in this town.
For whatever reason. Not in this Jersey town.
No.
Or whatever Jersey town.
I don't know of any town, and we're from Jersey, and I don't know any town that does all this caroling that they do.
I probably throw snowballs at him anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So he goes outside, and everybody's caroling, and all of a sudden, Samantha comes and speeding into the lawn, pretty much.
But they're playing the most joyful song ever.
I will play it. It was the song that played at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, by Andy Williams.
Meanwhile, the entire Jamie's family.
Hold on, because then Mike is hanging out the window by his waist. He goes, the jig is up, run!
Yeah.
And then it just starts
he's trying to wiggle out of the car, but it's so funny because if you watch him in the background, if you literally watch him, it looks so stupid.
He's like a seal, hopping up and down, but just like his waist up out the window. And Samantha comes out and she's like, is this your whore?
No, this is the little whore you've been banging behind my back. And the little old lady is like, me? And she's like, not you, Wrinkles, her! And points at Jamie.
And she tries to fight Jamie, and they're just like pushing each other back and forth. And Mike goes, "Girl fight, yes!" And Samantha says she's gonna get Chris fired, and then she punches him in the throat. Yeah. And he's got the retainer in, so he's just like he's choking on the retainer. And she gets back in the car and she just peels out. But at some point, the bumper catches a light, and this is her dad. She's living at her parents' house. Her dad is like really proud of his Christmas. It's like decoration. It's just one of those those houses that just have just like you can see them from space. They have so many lights and stuff. So Samantha somehow gets lights caught on the back of her car, and she starts just peeling out, and everything gets pulled down.
Yeah, everything is connected, and everything just comes off like together slowly.
Yeah,
it's like clotheslining people of Jamie's family, and
things
everything.
Are being lit on fire.
Santa Claus on top of the house is on fire. The reindeer on top of the roof.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It's so great. And then finally, one of the flaming reindeer gets dragged down the street in the very finale. And then Chris just goes, ha, you don't see that every day.
Yeah. So he goes home, and he thinks now Jamie hates him because it's his fault that all of that happened. And Jamie shows up, and because she found his letter and she read it, and so they're hanging out and he's acting like himself. They're eating ice cream, like it's back to being normal again. And they both go to bed, but neither of them make a move. Like both of them thought the other one was gonna make a move, so she thinks after that he just wants to be just friends, and so it completely backfired in Chris's favor. So then Chris goes to talk to his friend at the dentist at the hospital, and he sees Dusty singing Jamie's song to a lady named Janice.
Yeah, and when Janice smiles.
Yeah, and he's being a complete douchebag to, like, now we see, like, the real Dusty.
Yeah.
And he's like, isn't this great? Like, both of us, Jamie put both of us in the friend zone in high school, and now we're going to get revenge on her.
Yeah.
And Chris is like, that's not what I'm trying to do. And Dusty's like, well, I'm going to get sweet revenge.
He's like, yeah, well, fuck your plan. I'm going to do me.
Yeah. So now Chris, he wants to leave, and he's like on his way to the airport, but now he can't. Now again, like another excuse.
But he's driving with his friend Clark, and for whatever reason, takes hold of the wheel and just and when they're going on an on-ramp, he goes and they like go over a snowbank and everything, and Clark is just, oh my God, Mariah Carey, and just flies over the snowbank. He goes, Jesus, what's wrong with you, LA people?
Yeah, you're so dramatic.
Yeah.
So they go straight to a church where Jamie and Dusty are volunteering with like some kids concert thing, and Chris asks to like talk to Jamie behind like the curtain, and he's warning Jamie about Dusty, but and like the warning about like what Dusty said, and then she's like, oh well, Dusty said the same thing about you, so Dusty's like one step ahead. So all of a sudden Dusty pops his head in front of the curtains, and he's like, would anybody like to join and sing carols about our Lord and Savior?
And Chris just looks at him and just goes, no! With his high-pitched scream.
And because it's back now, Jamie and Chris are fighting. So Chris screams and then tackles him, and everybody's cheering for Dusty because they all love Dusty. And they throw Chris out. And now Chris is angry, and now he goes to the pub, and he gets drunk, and he tries to apologize, but Jamie's still mad. So then that just gets worse, and because then he says something like, well, you're being a tease, and he's like, good, now you know how it feels. And pretty much just like drops the mic and then gets out of there.
But he leaves. He goes back to. But
then she's with Dusty, and she's like, no, just Dusty and I are just friends. And then all of a sudden Dusty's like, oh, not for long. And she's like, never gonna happen. So then Dusty is like a douchebag and does like this dance and is like, well, I don't want to anyway.
Yeah, he
so
like slaps girls' butt,
yeah, so then Dusty's gone.
Yeah.
So Chris goes back to LA then, like flies back, and now he's like really depressed and angry. Yeah. And he walks in.
Oh, and as soon as he walks in, he just throws his luggage off of a cliff.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Because, of course, he's living in, like, this big mansion on a cliff in L.A.
Who needs clothes?
Yeah. So he walks in, and Samantha's there. And
she just pops up from behind. And she's like, oh, hi, Bill. I missed you.
She's like, I thought you wanted me to be domestic, like that whore.
Yeah.
And because she was, like, baking cookies or something in, like, silk pajamas.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I wrote some new songs for forgiveness. So she starts playing Forgiveness again. And he just gets up and he's like, no more. Because at this point, like, he's pretty sure he's fired because he thinks he lost the her business.
Yeah.
And so he just takes the guitar away from her and he turns around and
or no, she goes, oh, you want other girls? I could do other girls.
Look at Darla again. And he's like, no, I want one girl and it's not you. So then all of a sudden he turns around and she has the taser
in her hands, shoots it, and it lands in his balls.
Yeah. So he immediately falls down, and she goes to stand on top of him. But like, I don't know if this is true, but if you're being tased, if you hold somebody, they're also tased.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah. So he grabs her leg, and then she falls down. And he ends up, he gets on top of her, and she's trying to like punch him, and he's like, he realizes there because he tells her, you can't just force somebody to like you. You just have to put yourself out there and hope that they like you back. And like right then and there, it snaps, and he's like, I just need to be myself. That's what Jamie wants.
So
is just
immediately
myself.
He heads back home. Yeah. And then we have our ending scene, which is him confessing everything he
goes
loves
right to Jamie's door.
About Jamie.
Yeah, he's like, I want to marry you, and I want to have babies with you, and all that mushy stuff that I hate.
And then that's pretty much
Yeah,
that.
kisses her, and that's kind of it. And then the credits are also really good because we get Fat Chris again.
And he's singing the entire song, I swear.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And then
Anyway.
and right after that, then we get the real version of Forgiveness by Anna Faris.
Oh my god, this really is like one of the best Christmas
it's right
movies.
up there with White Christmas.
It's so funny. And the fact that we could actually watch it like whenever is great too.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can go rent it for $3.
Exactly.
But I would think though a lot of people do know this movie. But if you don't, then screw you.
People best know this movie after this podcast.
Yeah, then you should. If you made it this far, then hopefully you go watch it like right now.
Exactly.
So
we have a little game set up for this week, and it's not really like a game. I just figure like in all these Christmas movies that always come out, like it always seems like there's a crazy like twist to a family. And I always thought like, you know what? Like how crazy I mean, this is personal because like people that know our family, it's huge. And it's always crazy around the holidays for us, no matter what. And it's always like, oh, are you making this? No, I gotta make that. No. You make this, I'll make that. With like the cooking and everything. And then there's always the cookies and the desserts and everything. Oh, are you buying her this? Oh, I'll buy her that. Oh, I'll buy him that.
Yeah, there's a lot of usually double gifts.
Exactly. And it's always pandemonium. So I always thought, if there was a Christmas movie about our family, who do I think can be cast in it? So I'm gonna start off with, us, the five. And honestly, I'm going to say Dad would definitely be Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, just for physical appearance.
Yeah, honestly, if we put up a picture between our dad and Alec Baldwin, it's kind of identical.
And then
Alec Baldwin
Who would be Mom?
I was thinking maybe Laura Dern. She's funny.
I would go... Yeah, that's probably good. I would go... Maybe like a I would like Amy Poehler to be my mom.
Amy Poehler could definitely be Mom. Yeah.
Or no, what am I even saying? I was just watching the Carol Burnett 50th anniversary special.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett, even though she's older than Mom, that's who I pick.
If Carol Burnett was like what, 30
probably
years
like 30
younger?
years younger.
Yeah.
I would
definitely,
pick her.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I take back on that.
Aaron
B. I was gonna say Reese Witherspoon.
Okay.
That's kind of easy. Reese Witherspoon has that like everything's crazy around the holidays, so I feel like that's very much of Aaron too.
I'll settle with that.
If you watched, I think it's called Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Her character is Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay, so easy, Kate McKinnon.
McLean.
So easy. It's so easy. Just after seeing Ghostbusters, that is you on around Christmas. Is it the hair? Just that movie is you. It's so perfect.
So I love that. That movie is so good. And then I would go.
I was gonna say James Corden.
Yeah,
without the English accent.
I was gonna say like Jonah Hill or something.
I could do Jonah Hill.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So now let's go Rissa.
Rissa?
The absent member of this podcast.
Oh, I was gonna say Haley Steinfeld. She kind of, there's a little bit of a resemblance.
I'm gonna go with
there.
Selena.
Selena,
anything for Selena.
Oh, Selena's from. Oh, okay.
Back from the dead.
Just back. Why not?
She's
Sally
Spanish.
Betty White.
I would go with Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God. Yes.
I think
absolutely.
she could get the sassiness down.
Dee Dee, I could say. Oh, what's her name? She's in Bad Mom. She was in Step Brothers. The brother's wife.
Yes. Catherine.
Yeah.
Catherine something.
Oh,
love her though.
Catherine O'Hara for Mom.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I just thought of that now.
She's good.
Yeah, she's so. Oh my God, she's so
How
funny.
about Sammy?
Ooh, Sammy.
Sammy, I would go with a. Who's a Sammy? Kim Kardashian instantly came to my mind. It's just
we can put Kim K as Sammy in our family. Why not? Brian. Who can we have as Brian?
Brian would have to be. We call him Tinkerbell, so we'll make him Tinkerbell.
What about like young John Goodman?
Yeah, that could be him.
Yeah.
Because or like even a Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Just
oh
like
my God.
The star.
Yeah.
Of everything.
The spotlight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Kenny would be a sloth.
Yeah.
Just doesn't need to speak because he doesn't anyway. So
easy enough. And
Kenny's a sloth.
Kenny, can you hand me that?
Yeah, just extremely slow.
Yep.
And doesn't speak. And then
Uncle Christian, George Lopez.
Yeah. Well, that's an easy one.
Well, but
we're not being racist. It's just
no. We are not being racist at all.
Yeah.
It's just that is, I think, a character
and then,
that can be very.
Uncle Roo.
Oh, Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
We can have Robert Duvall in our family. Glennie, Danny DeVito. Just for, I mean, come on, let's be obvious here.
Comedic-wise and physical appearance-wise.
Really. I mean, Connor, I can't really give.
They're too small. I don't know any children.
Vicky could be. I don't know. Who could Vicky be? Do we have anyone on the wall?
Let's go with
Tina Fey.
Yeah, that'll work. We'll
do
throw
Tina
her.
Fey.
I'd like to work with her.
Yeah, Tina Fey's cool.
That'll work.
And then
that's everybody.
Yeah, that is.
Tom. Duh,
Tom. Bradley Cooper.
He would probably love that.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, the one time we were playing that heads up game with the phone,
yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, looks like him," and the answer was Bradley Cooper, and he looked at me. He's like, "Oh, wow, really? Thank you."
You really think so?
But yeah, so that was our little game. That was our podcast for the week. What do we got next week? We're coming up with.
Oh, we're gonna have. Well, we're gonna go see Star Wars tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give. I was gonna have one up like right away, but we're gonna record right away. But then we're gonna give everybody time to watch it. So we'll give you like 2 weeks.
We're gonna think maybe we're gonna shoot for New Year's.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks we'll put it up.
All right.
So then we can all like freak out about that.
Yep.
Hope you have a lovely week.
Enjoy the holiday season.
Goodbye.
Bye.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year.